Hello and welcome back. I am here with Lieutenant Deer, and we are going to talk about something that is going to be new for us. We're trying to take a more proactive approach, particularly with hurricane season upon us, and being ready for disasters. So by now, we probably have gone through our hurricane simulation. Everybody knows what they're going to be doing, but we'd also like to try to find ways to engage our residents more, empower them, and make them safe, particularly for those that are staying behind if there's a hurricane. This opens up an opportunity for something that is a program Collier County Sheriff's Office is putting on that is at no cost to our associations or even to Newell, and it's called the CERT program. And so Lieutenant Deer is going to be talking to us about that. It applies to hurricanes, but it applies on a far broader scale than that. So, Lieutenant Deer, you mind kind of explaining the CERT program to us and walking us through the history of it?
Sure, certainly. Thank you for having me. So we're putting on a program called CERT. It's the Community Emergency Response Team. The program itself originated in Los Angeles, basically from a event that occurred right off the coast that impacted the coastline of Los Angeles. In that event, many people unfortunately died because of it, and the problem that arose was because first responders were inundated with responding to emergencies, life-saving rescue missions, etc. A bunch of community volunteers started showing up, and all of that normally is a good thing. The problem became that those folks were not organized, and they were self-deploying and actually getting in the way of first responders conducting their missions. So about a year later, the LAPD realized the value of those people, but they also needed to have some organization and some additional training. So the LAPD put together the first CERT program in 1986. Now, from that program, they were able to advance their community response to several hundred people that are trained in life-saving measures, basic life support, and search and rescue. That includes cribbing. It includes extrication of people within vehicles or under trees, for example, and some additional life-saving and disaster preparedness measures. So what we did at the Sheriff's Office is we took that nationally recognized program, we brought it down here and said, we have a great opportunity within our community to develop some resiliency within the communities and within our organizations, as we are a coastline community and often suffer some impacts from hurricanes as well. So that's what we've developed, a program. We have about 200 people in that program now, and we're looking to grow it much larger.
Fantastic.
The crux of the program itself is based on resiliency within your community. Now, not to say that the first responders within our community are going to be so inundated that they cannot respond. The thing of it is that in the initial onset of a hurricane, for example, the first hours or 2 hours are going to be inundated with us responding to critical site locations. Locations that include flooding, which may have search and rescue issues going on. As many of us saw with the saltwater inundation on the last hurricane, there are fire hazards that occur when water starts to recede. So first responders are going to be inundated with those types of calls. The benefit of the CERT program within our communities is that if there's any welfare check verifications that we get in, when we get those in by the hundreds, if not low thousands, we can parse those off onto communities that are trained and understand our mission to try to check on your neighbors. Make sure you are personally, and your family are safe and maintained, your property is maintained, and then you can check on your neighbors. We want folks to be resilient in their communities and in their relationships locally. What that does for us is that takes that several thousand calls that we may take several hours to get to because we're providing some care elsewhere. And it relies on our communities to essentially take the low-hanging fruit and stuff that we need done quickly for alleviating the calls for service on first responders across the board. So with that, we've developed a program where we train community members, whether that be from a gated community or whether that be through organizations, which we have a few. We train them in modules that cover everything from the psychology of a disaster. We talked before about how trauma can affect people and their decision making in certain cases. The course we put on talks about how to minimize the effect of trauma on responders, especially those right here. It opens it up into different sections here, with first aid being one of them. We take that first aid module and we break it up into two sections where we teach about basics of basic life support, such as bleeding control, airway control, first aid such as CPR, We talk about when we talk about bleeding control, there's different parts of that, right? We have just a bleeding issue that might need compression from a bandage or maybe a Band-Aid type first aid, all the way up through traumatic bleeding, where someone might have a compound fracture or some other area on the body that needs some direct and immediate attention to. So our CERT members get trained on how to do facilitate that type of medical care. As we push through into fire safety, which we learned in the last hurricane was critically important for some communities, the fire safety portion not only teaches our folks how to address a fire with a fire extinguisher or a hose if you have it, but the controls that follow that are embedded within buildings itself. So, for example, if you have water intrusion onto a fire access control panel area and that thing starts to light on fire, it is energized still. You don't want to put a water fire extinguisher on it, right? There are several different types of extinguisher used for different types of fires. So we teach our folks how to understand what type of fire it is, and then what's the appropriate extinguisher to use within it, and also to mitigate any hazards that might become upon someone who puts a fire out, how to access the control panels to maybe turn off the power so you don't get shocked as you try to address the fire. As we move on to light search and rescue, this is a fantastic portion, one of my favorite parts of it, where we learn how to handle everything from searching grids and how to manage a search party, all the way through to if somebody is pinned under a car, how you can use things nearby, tree limbs, 2x4s, whatever, to lift that car off, extricate the person, and provide them care. So it is a phenomenal module that we teach in the CERT. Disaster psychology, like I talked about before, how that discusses how to manage critical incidents, the stress of the critical incident, and then any stressors that occur within. It also helps, what we call an incident commander, that's part of the CERT structure, how to identify and keep kind of the tone of the event neutralized, if you will, or reduced, and how to identify stressors within the responders of the CERT group. So you're keeping an eye on your buddy. It's a buddy check. Because people can get very quickly inundated. There's never physiological things that occur within stress-induced things like you start to see less, you start to hear less. And it's a way that we can have an incident commander, if you will, or a team leader, take a step back and manage those responders that are on the scene to identify those precursors for a potentially dangerous situation for somebody else. And then finally, this entire course, which is a 24-hour course in learning, you give it that little bit, it culminates to what we call a disaster simulation. So we take a disaster, we create a whole scenario, whether that be a hurricane with downed limbs, it could be a vehicle crashing into a building, it could be any sort of disaster that we want to play with. We create the disaster, and then your teams are formulated with an incident commander, a search team, a fire team, fire suppression team, and we build out a whole group with your community. You come out to the disaster scenario, and then it's game on. We just say, okay, here's your disaster. Good luck to you. And then we facilitate the disaster response. So your incident commander and all of your team leaders are managing those folks in the field on your own. We stay on the outskirts to make sure you're doing it right and you're getting in the right things and not hurting yourself. But everyone gets hands-on training and they feel the stress of the disaster.
That's
real
fantastic.
time.
So are there any like qualifiers? I see that there looks like you have a younger person there. So are there age restrictions, minimums, maximums, anything?
So there are no limitations on age or ability.
Okay.
We have a program called our Teen CERT program, which is mostly run by the Civil Air Patrol. But if you have anybody who wants to be part of that group, all we need is a parent permission and chaperone to the program, but they're in. The core of our team thus far, it seems to be ranging about 55 and older. But there are no limitations because we have, as a CERT motto, there's something for everyone in CERT. So if you respond to a scene and you're helping us with a disaster and maybe you're wheelchair bound or you're not mobile as someone else might be, we have something for you. You can be a check-in, check-out reporter for us. You could be an incident commander, right? Because all you need to do is manage folks in the field. So there's everything from top to bottom, soup to nuts about what we can do in the CERT program.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then last thing we'll talk about briefly is how to join and what the involvement is. So in our CERT program, we've split up the program into 3 different levels. A CERT level 1 member is someone who just wants to be within the community wants to be resilient, wants to be personally trained on how to do stuff, but doesn't necessarily want to be activated for a response from the sheriff's office in county or outside. That's a level 1 person, just a general personal growth person. A level 2 member is someone who gets a little bit more active within the community and within the sheriff's office. This person is someone that we call out if we have a search and rescue issue. We have a wildfire where we need some door-to-door evacuations, or we need some command post fortification. These folks are ready and able to deploy within the county for any disaster that we might need their help for. And then lastly, a level 3 CERT member is what we transition into a CCSO volunteer. This is a full-fledged background check, and you become a member of the sheriff's office as a volunteer. Gives you access to vehicles, to buildings, to any other programs that we have within the sheriff's office as a volunteer. All of that is listed on our website at callyoursheriff.org/CERT, CERT, and you can get information on how to become a CERT member, fill out an application, and it goes right to us, and we get you through a very minimal background check on the front end.
That was awesome. So I know you mentioned there was 24 hours of training. Is that 24 hours for level 1 or level 2 or which one is that?
So level CERT training in general, just a basic CERT course, requires 24 hours of classroom training. So that is just the general training for all levels, no matter.
Now is that broken down? Is it 3 8-hour days? Is it?
That is, so the benefit of it is at your communities, we can curtail it to your preference and your ability. It could be 1 8-hour day for 3 months. It could be 3 days in a row. It could be 3 hours per night for 8 nights. It could be once a Saturday, however you want to curtail it to. We have a class coming up at the North Collier Regional Park, starts May 12th on Tuesday night. Well, in this class offering, it's 8 Tuesday nights from 6 to 9 p.m. Once that's done, you're CERT certified and you're in the mix.
Fantastic. So for the class sizes, it sounds like this is something we could do at our associations on a community level. We could post it in one of our clubhouses or
Yes.
something like that, correct?
Absolutely.
So what is the class size range that you usually look at?
So what we like to do is, and because there is a bit of a deployment cost in the sheriff's office, not to anyone, just a cost on our own, we like to have a class minimum of 15. We found that there's benefits of having a class no more than 50. 35 is right about the sweet spot, but we can curtail our trainings to any range of that. But 15 is the minimum we'd like to see.
And what equipment do you need to do that? So do we need to have the ability to have AV? Do we need to have, televisions on the wall? Do we need a multimedia room?
So the only thing we ask for in most clubhouses have a general assembly room presentations. That's perfectly fine as long as we have something we can AV presentations to. Chairs, tables, the general stuff. And then on the disaster scenario, based on how the community is set up, if we have breakout rooms, that's great. If we need to do it inside and outside, we can do that. So the need or the pull from the community is simply a room to house the number of people who apply.
All right. Well, I really appreciate this. I really think that this is something that we can use and that something we're going to be taking advantage of here with our communities. And I'm really applaud the sheriff's office for putting this together.
Absolutely. It's the mission of the sheriff, as he is a community-based person. And so we love being able to do that for the community and then use these folks in our processing. We do very often.
So if you would like to sign up for the CERT program as a director or president, please contact your manager. Your DSM will be happy to help you get that set up. Managers, we've gone over the website. That's going to be distributed to everybody as well as part of this video. It's part of the presentation. So thank you guys very much for tuning in and watching us, and have a great day. Bye.